Hello? It is 10/3/2020, and I remember my dream. I went to bed a little after 2 a.m. because my adoptive mother was being really obnoxious, snoring in front of my door. She's got a really bad habit of that. Anyway, so in my dream, I'm in this, what appears to be a living room. And I've never been in a living room that looked like this before, and the walls were painted a light orangey yellow color. The room was a rectangle shape, and at the bottom, where the wall and the floor was like this white decorative side molding. My aunt and my uncle on my adoptive father's side were sitting on a black 3-person couch, and I was sitting in a oak wooden chair, and I was looking at the TV, and they were looking at the TV, and this big TV, flat screen, very thin flat screen TV. And again, I didn't recognize this room. It's not their house. I don't have a house like this, and we don't have a room with a house like this either. So I'm not exactly sure where this was, but us three were there. And I'm showing them my PlayStation 3. Now, as an introduction, I have a PlayStation 4. I've been playing it for years. The PlayStation 5 is about to come out. But in my dream, I'm just showing them how the graphics are so much better on the PlayStation 3 than the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 1, and older video games. Now, I have done this in the past multiple times with them decades ago. And every time a new console would come out, I'd show them the difference. I used to do that for the handheld Game Boys and stuff too. So the first game that I show them is I show them Gran Turismo 6 for the PlayStation 3. And they're like, ooh, that's really impressive, Anthony. And they're just watching me play these video games. I put in Need for Speed Rivals. And I show them both the racer career and the police career. And they're like very impressed by the graphics, right? And then I want to have a little bit of an interjection before I go to the and then. So yesterday I actually played Need for Speed Rivals on the PS3 because I was a little bored with some of my other games. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. And then I had a dream about that game. But I haven't played Gran Turismo 6. I still have Gran Turismo 6. But I haven't played Gran Turismo 6 because Gran Turismo Sport came out for the PlayStation 4. And I think that'll be it for this introduction. Okay. And then, in the dream, we started to watch some television. And the television was an anime. A specific anime called Initial D. Now I'm going to add an interjection. Now, I had a friend who had an older brother who became my friend when we were in our high school automotive program at the Seacoast School of Technology. Every single time the phone has to ring when I'm doing something. It's so annoying. Anyway, that was the interjection that I had those two friends who were brothers, and I became friends with the older brother. And the older brother told me, because these political calls are getting really annoying. Okay, moving on. So that interjection is that, right, the two friends are brothers, right? The younger brother, who was my age, didn't go to the automotive school. Or the automotive program, I should say, because I think they had all different programs. Yeah, they did have all different programs. And then his older brother became my friend because we had similar interests. And he recommended me to go watch Initial D. And I refused to watch it. I told him I love anime, I love cars, and I used to play a game, I still play a game, on the PlayStation 2 called Automodelisa, where they have racing, but it has the cars where It looks like anime drawn style, so it's really cool because there's nothing else on the market like it. And he recommended that I watch Initial D, and I'm like, no, I'm not really that interested in that, because at the time I was really mostly interested in watching harem anime and ecchi anime. This was years ago, okay? But even at that time, I still really wasn't that big into fiction. I wasn't really big on fiction. I didn't even really like fiction movies that much. But I was just kind of getting into anime and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Yeah, I just have no idea what I'm talking about now. Anyway, I think I've gone a bit off track. Anyway, so in this dream, I am watching Initial D with my aunt and my uncle on my adoptive father's side in this dream. I'm on the wooden chair. They're on this blackish looking couch, 3-person couch. And we're watching the flat screen TV of Initial D. But what's interesting is that, yes, it was just like Initial D, but here is the kicker. So the main character, he, instead of driving the Panda Toyota, we call it a Corolla GTS here in America. Over there they call it a Torino in Japan. And he's driving the Torino, and I want you to understand a Toyota Torino is not the same as a Ford Torino. Okay? Just the same name. Anyway, so he's in the Toyota Torino, usually in Initial D. However, he was not. He was actually in a 2020 yellow Ford Mustang, literally, but it's drawn just like, or animated, 3D animated, just like the Initial D style. That was really strange. So I don't know if there's going to be a new Initial D coming out or what, but that was very fascinating. And he ends up trying to drift race this other guy driving a white Acura Integra from like, what, the early 2000s, late 90s kind of body style. Something you'd see like in Need for Speed Underground, that Acura Integra body style. And it's funny, then they start drift racing each other, and then some guy who's just driving his own regular car, he's in like this old bluish car from like the 80s or something, and the yellow car and the white car end up sandwiching the guy, the random driver, in an actual drift, and it looks really funny, and the guy in the middle is like freaking out. He's like, oh my goodness, I just want to get home! It was hilarious. And that happened in my dream. And then we start watching another anime, and it was Cardcaptor Sakura. And what was so strange about it was it didn't look like the same type of drawing style of Cardcaptor Sakura, but it was Cardcaptor Sakura. And we ended up watching that together. And then I woke up from my dream. The funny thing is, within the past 2 or 3 days, I've been reading the Bible, specifically Genesis. And they talked about how people who worked for a pharaoh, and also the pharaoh himself in Egypt, had these dreams, and had Joseph from the Bible interpret those dreams. And for those who don't understand, Joseph is the son of Israel, also known as Jacob, but God gave Jacob the name Israel for himself, and then had his son Joseph, but I'm not entirely sure if Joseph was born before or after God gave him the name Israel. But that's where the country Israel comes from, because that was the kingdom of Jacob, who is the father of Joseph. And that's why we have a country called Israel today, because the Bible is not really, you know what? It is. You know what? Forget it. Anyway, so that was my dream. I had this weird dream, and now I'm telling you my dream, and then I'm trying to interpret it, and I'll let you guys interpret it for me if you like. But it's said in the Bible, all dreams will be interpreted by God. So I just thought that was really interesting. So I just thought that was an interesting interjection into this. I forgot to report 2 dreams that came before last week. And I forget exactly what the second dream was about, but I remember having that second dream. I just can't remember what it was about. But the first dream I do remember, and it happened on a day right before I went up to the Vieira outlets for a security meeting. And in that dream, there was an active shooter situation. But let me start from the beginning. So, at the beginning, I'm driving this lime green Ford, and it's like this really tiny compact Ford. So where I was a little uncomfortable driving it. Like, that's how small it was. Which is funny because one of my neighbor's friends has the exact same lime green compact Ford. I think it's probably a Fiesta, but it was really small, and I didn't really care for the body style, but I was driving that car for some reason. And I drove it specifically to a JCPenney. I don't know. Lately, I've been having a lot of dreams about JCPenney stores, and I don't know what that's all about. So I pull up in this car, I come into JCPenney, and I end up shoplifting and stealing some garment of clothing. And then I leave. And then about a few days later, I get a call to have an interview for a job at that same JCPenney. And I'm driving this lime green Ford. It's just really tiny, ugly Ford, but I love the lime green color. Anyway, so I park near where I parked before, and then I'm going to the interview from the same JCPenney that I shoplifted in my dream. Now, as a disclaimer, I have never shoplifted from a JCPenney in my life. Thank you. This was just in my dream. And then I get the interview, and there's this guy. He's one of the managers of the place. And he's conducting this interview for me so I can work at that same JCPenney that I stole from in my dream, right? Then I realized who this guy was. The manager was Jeff Goldblum, an actor who was in Jurassic Park. Yes, it was really strange that he was the manager of a JCPenney. Anyway, so Jeff gave me this interview to work at this JCPenney, and then all of a sudden 2 people came outside, and his office was really nice. It had this outdoor kind of wall where you had glass right on the outside, and it was like those squares where you can kind of see out, but not see that well out. But if you've ever seen those walls where they're made out of glass and they're squares, or square cubes, I should say. And they have square cubes, and you can see through a little bit, but not see that well through them. And it was like this whole wall on two sides of his office. The other sides were just like a gray painted whatever. Anyway, so these two people pull up in what appeared to be a van, and they come out of the van, and both of them are holding guns. Then one person is pointing the gun in the parking lot and shoots a bullet through the glass at an angle, right through the guy's office, missing him. And then Jeff Goldblum says, "We got to get out of here." And then we're both looking at the people who are out there, and it looks like one looked like they ran towards the front of the JCPenney. The other one shot a second bullet through the glass wall. And then Jeff is in his office chair, rolling it, still looking at the people shooting the gun, but he's not getting out of the chair. He's just backing up very slowly in his office chair, out the office door, pushing his feet in front of him to go backwards, still looking at the shooter. Then I hear another shot, so what I do is I end up going into another room, and I lie down on my stomach to pretend that I've been shot, hoping that whoever was shooting would think that I'm dead and maybe go away, right? Playing dead. And then a couple people come in. They're trying to see if I'm dead or alive, and I'm pretending to stay dead because I don't want the shooter to think that I had survived, or that might try to shoot at me again. But so I purposely become unresponsive to the people who show up, and but I wasn't shot. I was just playing dead again. And then I wake up from my dream. I wasn't shot. I don't know if Jeff got shot. I don't know if anybody else got shot. But that was the end of my dream. At a JCPenney. Very strange.